Do you wake up every day dreading the inevitable moment when you will log onto Zoom University, turn off your camera to scroll through apps on your phone, and ultimately learn nothing? Well, me too. Hey y'all, what's good? Welcome to my channel. My name is Raven. From the title, you've already gathered that today I'm talking about how to stay motivated in online school. All jokes aside, I feel like I have managed to stay motivated pretty well despite the challenging circumstances, and I would love to share those tips and the things that I've learned with you all so that you can stay motivated too. Hopefully colleges and schools will be back in person next academic year for everyone, but until then, I'm gonna give you some tips to help you get through the final stretch, okay? Let's get started. I don't know what that was.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly.
My first suggestion to you is to work in blocks of time. According to a recent Harvard study, we work better in blocks of time because our attention span only lasts for so long. How long you can stay focused in one sitting actually depends very highly on the person, but there is this really great study technique called the pomodoro technique that seems to work for a lot of people. Essentially, the pomodoro technique is 50 minutes of studying and then 10 minutes of resting, and you keep alternating between that 50-10 cycle until you've completed the task. I personally like to look up study with me videos on YouTube and work with a virtual buddy since I'm working completely remotely from home. Or sometimes my fellow classmates and I will have like virtual study groups and we'll work with one another. The placebo effect of feeling like someone else is holding me accountable really helps me to like get my work done, you know? My second tip, and this is gonna be a hard one, especially for y'all Gen Z people out there, put down the phone, baby. We're all home like so much more now than we normally are, and so we're on our phones a lot more. I know for me, definitely my screen time has gone way up. We're all guilty of grabbing our phones and scrolling through Instagram or TikTok instead of doing our work, but this really can have a major impact on not only your ability to get the specific tasks done, but your ability to focus more generally. A recent Harvard study showed that the further away students place their phones from them while they're studying, the better their grades end up being. It's not a groundbreaking revelation that our phones are very distracting devices and we are incredibly overstimulated by them. But what you may not know is constantly going through apps where we're getting this quick gratification is releasing dopamine in our brains and ultimately causing us to have shorter attention spans because we're used to getting everything like that. Lowering your amount of screen time or just simply putting your phone away while you're trying to work will be really helpful for staying motivated and focused. This is a big one for me. Put your education in perspective. So recently in one of my classes, we read the autobiography of Frederick Douglass titled Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. And if you don't know, Frederick Douglass is a very famous African-American thinker, writer, intellectual, and he was born into enslavement and ultimately escaped slavery. In the autobiography, he wrote a lot about his experiences learning to read and write. He tells a story of how his mistress, when he was a child, taught him the basics of reading and writing, but ultimately stopped teaching him because it was illegal to teach enslaved people how to read and write in the 1800s, or in general during the institution of slavery. But once Frederick Douglass had a taste of that, he knew he couldn't stop and he was always seeking knowledge. He writes about how when he would go out and run errands for his household, he would find white boys in the neighborhood and befriend them and then ask them to teach him things. Hearing the stories of how he had to be so creative and innovative in the way that he learned really puts things into perspective for me. And this isn't just some far off imagination of the past, the same thing is still happening today. Maybe not in the same conditions of enslavement, but there are plenty of people who aren't able to get the kind of education that they need and deserve because their educational system is just failing them. When I think about how hard my ancestors had to fight for me to even have the right to get an education, how there are so many people who aren't offered the privilege of education, it really makes me feel grateful for what it is I have the opportunity to do. That motivates me. That motivates me a lot. In that same vein of putting things into perspective, I also think about all the people who have poured into me to get me to where I am today. My grandparents and my mom and all my family members who have just poured so much love into me and so many resources into me, without which I literally would not be where I am today. Putting things into perspective allows us to ground into gratitude, and that is a huge motivating factor for me because, of course, I want to make myself proud and I live my life for me, but I also want to make the people who have poured into me proud and the people who have sacrificed in the past, present, future for me proud. That being said, we should still hold the education system accountable for the way that it's failing so many students today. I think we can hold space for the gratitude and for the critique. At this point, if you're not using some kind of planner, what are you doing? I cannot function without a planner. My brain forgets everything, so if I don't write it down, is gone. It is completely gone. I personally use Google Calendar, so I'm more about the virtual calendar life because I get a million emails a day, and when I want to add things to it, it's just easier to add the Zoom links directly into my calendar and block out time that way. But if you're more of a tactile person, I would definitely recommend doing some kind of bullet journal and then having a space for tasks that you want to complete within the bullet journal. I recommend doing this not only for events that you need to attend, but also study time that you're going to block out. I think working from home, it can be really hard to create boundaries with your time, with your space, workspace versus relaxing space. It is like a bit overwhelming. So another helpful tip that I've heard is that you could treat school like a 9 to 5. So you work from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then after that, no more, okay? C'est fini. During my freshman year of college, one of the study advisors gave this really awesome tip about how to plan your time studying for classes. She said that you should be spending 3 times the amount of time that you spend in class studying for that class. So for example, if I have a class and it's 2 hours every week, then I should be spending 6 hours outside of class preparing for it every week. You got to reward yourself, reward yourself. You can't be working this hard and not do something nice for yourself. Whether that looks like self-care, which we should all be doing anyways, but maybe you do like a nice face mask after a long day. Maybe you take a little bubble bath. Total side note, but y'all know those TikToks where it's the hormone monster from Big Mouth and she's like, I don't wear deodorant and I take bubble baths. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite noises in the whole world. Her voice is like an ASMR goldmine. Something that I like to do is that at the end of every single week, which for me ends on Thursday because it's my last day of classes, I always order food out from one of my favorite places. I order myself a meal that I know I'm gonna love. Normally it's Korean food and specifically dolsot bibimbap. I don't even have words to express how much I love Korean food. Maybe for you that doesn't look like ordering dolsot bibimbap, maybe it's like doing a nice self-care night after a really hard week, or playing with your cat, or chatting to your family members and decompressing, watching a funny TV show on Netflix and just being mindless for a bit. These are all important things to do so that you feel good. And if you tell yourself you're not gonna get the reward until you finish the work, you can kind of trick yourself into being more productive. Okay, this might just be a Raven thing, but get dressed and get cute to work. I think in general, waking up every day and showering and exercising and taking good care of your body is a good thing to do. But I know that I work way more efficiently when I actually feel good. When I, put a little makeup on my face, I wash all my cookies, lotion my body, put on a cute outfit, do my hair, smell good, look good, and then I sit down and work alone in my room for like 12 hours. I don't know what it is about looking good. I always work better when I look good. Also showing up on Zoom, you can entertain those fantasies of being someone's crush in class. There's nothing wrong with pretending you're the main character. It's fun. It's life affirming. I say go for it. Another really, really important tip that I have for you is to take time off. During my first quarter of grad school, we had a sort of luncheon, a virtual luncheon with some older graduate students, and we were asking them for advice. One bit of advice that I really loved is one of the grad students said, for every single class, every quarter, don't go. Don't go at least one time and take that day, that time for yourself. You don't have to show up to every class, you don't have to show up to everything, be everywhere. You don't have to be doing it all. I think especially right now, you gotta streamline your life. Only the essentials that you can focus on, because all this stress with the pandemic really does bleed you of the energy that you would normally have to invest in maybe other clubs or other activities or things that you would be doing. Streamline your life and take time off when you need it. Y'all already know this, but make sure you're eating, sleeping, exercising, taking good care of your body. Your body is your temple. Why did I just turn into like a college frat boy? But for real, I notice a huge difference when I'm taking care of myself and how I perform and how I work and how inspired I feel versus when I don't. Especially with sleep. When I don't sleep, I am not a nice person. Just to contradict myself a little bit here at the end, it is totally ridiculous that we have to be productive right now. Obviously, I'm giving you these tips because we gotta make it through, and motivation is an important thing to have to get through these trying times. But more than anything, I wish we could all just rest and sit with the gravity of what's happening in our world, in our homes, in our lives, in our hearts. It's a lot. So yeah, it's hard to stay motivated, and you should not feel bad about yourself if you've been having a hard time staying focused and getting things done, because honestly, me sometimes too. But these tips help me to get in a rhythm where I can get the work done anyways, because clearly it's not stopping just because we're in a panoramic. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I know these aren't all groundbreaking tips, but hopefully I gave you a little more context for why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, how technology is contributing to your lack of ability to focus, and validating your feelings. I'll see y'all next week. Bye. So take these tips, hold them to your bosom, nurture them. You can't see, but I'm grabbing. Why am I doing that? You just gotta push through. Push through. This is itchy. Ultimately, it is not selfish to make space for yourself. You need it. You need it, and you deserve it, because you're worth it. Okay, my camera's about to die, so sending lots of love, lots of good motivational energy to all of you. Here it is. That's for you. That's motivation. My back, my achy breaky back. You've heard my achy breaky heart. Now, my achy breaky back. Oh, we got some flyaways. Isn't this sick? It's kind of like blurred out in the video, but it says girls, girls, girls on it. We love that. We love women empowerment. You gotta fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Gotta fake it till you make it. I believe in you. Why don't you believe in you? Huh? Huh? You better believe in yourself right now. You better believe in yourself right now, or I'm never gonna use a firearm because I don't believe in guns. You got it. You got it. You got it. That's the vibe. You've got to reward yourself for all this hard work. It can't be all grind and no gratification. It can't be all grind and no graham cracker.